morning, Amal. Good morning, Minutes. Michael Virgil, Mark Novak. Amal says, love the creative titles. Beautiful. We've got to grab your attention. Jeff's on. Todd, good to see you all.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Todd, Amal. So guys, this is really cool. Look, I think first of all, we'll talk about the technical side of it, what's actually available. And then I think we'll go on to how does that affect you, even if you're not a first home buyer, towards the end of the chat. What have we got, Michael? Give us number one.
Yes, so number one, there's the new one coming in that everyone's probably the hot topic at the moment, which will be only available to 10,000 first home buyers, which we'll get to in a second. But that's basically no mortgage insurance. The government will be your guarantor, which is pretty huge because traditionally speaking,
what's mortgage insurance?
Mortgage insurance is when you're basically, if you have to borrow more than 80% of the value of the property, the bank will hit you with a big risk insurance, or mortgage insurance, they call it, because there's not that 20% buffer between debt and what the property is worth.
So the bank actually has to insure themselves against you going bad if you only have a 5, 10, 15% deposit. The bank has to insure themselves against you going bad. They actually pass on that cost to the buyer, believe it or not, and it's called mortgage insurance. Nuts.
And the reason they do that is, let's just say if things go bad and they have to sell, they want to have that buffer of what you bought it for. They want that buffer so they can regain all their money, basically, because as we know, we've seen the market swing 5 or 10% in the last 6 months. So if you bought a property at 800, well, let's say the 12 months before and it went down 10%, if you were leveraged at 100%, then the bank, if something went up and they went to sell that asset, they would lose money. And I think we all know the banks don't like to lose. So
it's actually not a bad thing, because that's how our banks have our AA or AAA rating internationally, because they're so conservative with, there's a perfect example of it, mortgage insurance. But you don't have to pay it now, because the government's, what's happening?
Yeah, so January 1, it kicks off the government incentive where you only need a 5% deposit. That's crazy. So normally a purchase, say 700,000, you need 140 grand cash to buy that property. Now you only need 30 cash money. Now you only need $35,000. Like, fuck, that's a big drop. That's really going to encourage people to get into the property market, because at the moment it's cheaper to own than rent. So the only thing stopping you is the deposit.
Okay, so with this, to give you some maths on it, guys, if you're buying something for 500 grand and you only had 25,000 deposit, and you were going for a loan before the mortgage, what would you just do?
Protein.
And now you're gonna vape a little bit. It's a healthy breakfast at Novak.
It's a healthy breakfast.
It's a healthy breakfast. Vaping and protein shaking, it was not around in the 80s.
Breakfast
or
of champions.
60s. It's the world's changed. But anyway, back to being, it's probably appropriate for first-time buyers what you just did, because they are probably vaping and probably protein shaking.
Harry, good to see you. Yeah, we just need the smashed avocado. I don't have that here, but potentially.
No, I think it's changed. I now think it's vaping and protein shaking. But back to where I was with the cost. This mortgage insurance, when you had to take it out previously, could have added 15 to 20 grand to your loan, because that one-off payments for mortgage insurance, they whacked on top of your loan.
Yeah.
They whacked on top of your loan. And then it was a decision if the mortgage insurer was going to actually insure you. So just because the bank approved your finance, said, yeah, we're willing to do the loan for you, they would need the discretion, or they would need the handshake also from the mortgage insurer to do the loan. So not only were you loaded with the debt, but there was a decision, are you going to get the loan? And the mortgage insurer was also having to answer that. Now, governments come along our friends at government have come along and said, guys, we realise that the risk level is low for first home buyers. They generally don't mess up the loans. They generally pay back the loans, and it's a good leg up. Now, people used to get a guarantor from their parents when they were buying. Now they're getting a guarantor. Effectively, they're still borrowing the money. They're still borrowing 95%, but they're not getting the money given to them by the government. It's just a guarantee from the government, but the government thinks it's a good risk, it's a safe risk, and the government's doing it for free.
Yeah. And then, so that would be, Luke's asked how a first home buyer is going to service the loan. Well, I would imagine.
Who cares? Who cares? Just give them the
Future
money.
problem.
Just give them that. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Afterpay, mate. Afterpay. All of that.
Put on a credit card.
Credit
Stimulate
card
the economy.
We're millennials, mate. Don't worry about it.
Future problem. Future problem. But the reality is, a loan on 500 grand is probably what they're paying rent anyway. So
it's less. So to give you an idea, your rent's going to be 500 a week on a 500K property. Yep. And your mortgage repayment is going to be probably $300 to $350 a week. You're 150 less. In the course of a year, you're up $7.5 grand more if you rented the thing. So
as Harry says, spend. Spend
up the money. So if you have to, just rent the thing out, go live with your buddy, share an apartment, live with mum and dad. You own a bloody property. It's cool. Yeah. So you know what gives me the shits? Those questions.
What, Mark? Tell us. Let's not overthink it.
It's like, you know what? We're going to give you the deposit. Oh.
But I have to pay interest on it.
Hang on a second. But it's like, oh my God, I had a post go up the other day on first home buyers, and the feedback on, I'm like, seriously, guys, like, what about a thank you? What about a well done, government? And what about, we better be careful? But you know, I've got to say, our government's pretty astute, guys. They've let us, and I know everyone's got an opinion like an arsehole, but if you look at us internationally, they've led us in an okay direction, cut them some slack. Like, well done. Power to the first home buyer. Congratulations to the government. Thank you to the government. How are we going to pay the loans back? Well,
future problem.
Yeah, it's like giving a
get a
job.
You know what? Get a fucking job.
You know what? Work. Hey, Ty, I've got to say, Ty, go try and get a credit card if you're a first home buyer. Very easy, and that's a 20%. That's going to screw you much harder. That's going to screw you much harder. Go and buy a car. Go and buy a Toyota Corolla. That's going to screw you much harder. Why? And if you go back to Morning Minutes, it's a depreciating asset.
Well, that's the thing as well. You can go to a car dealer and get a $100,000 car without a deposit. Without a deposit, get a $100,000 car without a deposit, and that will halve in value. So what would you rather? A bit of a leg up to buy a property that's going to go up in value, puts a roof over your head, or a car. So it's almost like there's, as you said, good debt v bad debt. This is great. Okay, that's one of them. That's the new one. What's the current
new one coming in first?
What's the one the first homeowner wants to buy today?
Duty. No stamp duty. So no stamp duty. You can buy a property for $500K and your stamp duty is $20K. So if you're a first home buyer and you're eligible, you don't have to pay the $20K. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Government.
So if you don't have a guarantor, you'll need probably 20% on that. Maybe you can get. Well, I know Christian. He posted something cool the how cool is this? So if you have a uni degree and earn over 100 grand a year, you can borrow 100%. How crazy is that? 100%. So uni degree.
It's the first time I've ever wanted a degree.
Yeah, I know.
Never had necessity for it before.
I'll post. I might tag him in this, and then I'll get some info on it, or I put it on my story the other day. Like, that's crazy. So
that's cool.
There's a lot of.
So that's number two.
That's number two. What's the third one?
Don't remember.
Is there a third one? I don't know.
What was the third one? Oh,
Who cares?
superannuation. Superannuation.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
putting money in, taking it out. Yes. Okay.
A bit complicated.
Yeah. So it is voluntary. I'll put the links in there so you can confirm the real figures, but just go with it. It was basically a single or a pair can put up to 30 grand a year into their super voluntary. So not the money that your employer is putting in.
Pair or a couple.
Pair, couple, a pair.
Oh, that's
boy and
that's
girl,
really
girl,
yeah.
boy.
There's no emotion in that. There's no emotion in that. That's really harsh, dude.
Yeah.
A couple,
pair.
two people in love.
Two people that want to buy a property together.
Yeah.
Can voluntary inject money into the super. So don't get it mixed up with, even if your employer is putting in 10, 20, 30 grand a year, that doesn't count. You have to put in the money on top. I think it was 30 grand for 2 years.
So the great myth has now been smashed. The myth of I cannot buy a property and live in it. There goes the shake. There it goes. There's some on your upper lip there as well. Yeah. So the myth of I can't use my super to buy a property, it's gone. You can use your super to buy a property.
Yes.
Fact. But there's rules. The rules are the super that you're using can't be.
I'll bring them up.
Yep.
Yeah, you go.
The super that you're using can't be your normal contribution. So your normal contribution that your employer puts in, that can't be touched. But your over and above contribution, that can be touched. So I'll put it this way. You earn 50 grand a year. Now, if I can use 100, the maths are a bit rounder, but I'll use 100.
We're not that smart. We're a little dumb, like our last minute said. So let's use big round numbers.
We're dumb agents. So 100K is how much you earn. Your employer will put in their regular, is it 9.25%?
Close enough.
Okay. Let's just say 10%. Your employer puts in your regular contributions to super. You cannot touch that year to buy a property as a first-time buyer. But as a first-time buyer that year, to live my life, I only needed 50. Only needed 50. So I turned around and said to my employer, hey, buddy, chum, mate, in that 50 how I'm making 100 this year, I want to volunteer 50K to go over to my super. 50K to go over to my super. Now that will go over at a super low tax rate, less than half of what you regularly pay. The government is saying that voluntary contribution, now that one's voluntary, it's not mandatory. Yes. That is voluntary. That voluntary contribution, if you can do 15K of that 1 year, 15K of that the next year, we will let you use that 30K to buy a property. Ladies and gentlemen, you can use your super to buy a property if you're a first-home buyer. And here's the key, you can live in it.
Yes.
Let's have another protein shake over that.
Yeah. No, I've got on the screen, Mark, I've brought up 15K a year voluntary. So you've got that screen sharing there. Wonder if you could combine the first homeowners. You do the super and then you do the 5% deposit.
Yes.
Combine them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you can.
That's great. So if you're putting in 30 and you only need 35% with the 5% deposit, that's great.
Yes.
And the tax benefit's a big thing as well. I think don't underestimate that. That's huge.
Yes. Now, guys, I've got to tell everyone, we are not financial advisors.
Oh God, no.
We are we're real estate agents. We're observing what people are doing, and that's what we're talking about. But we're not saying that before you make these moves, you talk to your accountant, you talk to your professional people in this field and get advice.
Yes.
But we're hoping we're giving you the tips and tricks today, or the tools today to go out and use it. But if you go out with those tools and you cut someone, we're not responsible.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go through. I know there's a lot of speculation on what this first homeowner grant will do to the market coming January. People think it could go up 5, 10, 15, 20%. Like, are they off their head? Is it practical? Like, how many first home buyers are even out there?
Look, the market's gone up. The market's gone up 5% in the last.
I'm bringing that graph up, Mark.
I love the graph. Look at that. $500,000, $25,000. The market just went up in Sydney in the last 3 months. Now, without any new first home buyer incentive, if I had to have a punt, I'd say the next 3 months is going to go up another 25K. So my point is buy sooner than later. But the government's limited this new grant, just in case it goes silly. The government's limited the new grant to 10,000 first home buyers.
And what first came to my mind on this, Mark, was like 10,000. Is that going to last a day? Is it going to last a decade? You can't put it in context. So we've done the research. I've brought it on the screen here. And what you can see,
one of the tabs open on there on the screen says Red Tube, Michael. If you could close that down, please.
Yeah, that's fine. I was using that earlier.
So on this graph, the blue is the amount of first home buyers that committed over the last 20 years.
New South Wales,
New South Wales. It showed the number of first-home buyers in 2008 when it was first introduced, went bananas. It then spiked in about 2010 when there was a further first-home buyer introduction, which was the new property first-home buyer introduction. Then when the first-home buyer stuff kicked on, which was low interest rates have helped the first-home buyers. The super has first-home buyers, and the incentives are still the same. There you can see it's kicked on a little bit again.
Instagram just so they can see that actually, guys. I'll just do that. That's what we're talking about for the guys on Instagram.
Michael, that's next level what you're doing. That's like really high tech. I can't believe you did that.
Insta watching Facebook. That's cool.
That's Insta watching Facebook. That's just crazy.
There's the graph. So
there it is.
I'll put the link in there.
Wow,
so basically
3,000 is the number.
3,000. So projected, if it continues on where it's sort of been, it could last 6 to 12 months.
Okay. Or it could go crazy within 3 months. Government shuts it down.
Yeah, or extends it. I think, I don't know. So what would you be doing if you're selling? Well, let's put it this way. That's 1 in 15. So 4 is a first home buyer. So if you're selling your property now, you may want to get realistic. Like 1 in 15 may have that extra 10, 20 grand incentive to buy your property, but the majority.
I wouldn't sell my property now.
You wouldn't? As in now or now January? When would you be able to one better?
If my property was under 700K, I would probably sell in the 3rd or 4th month of next year.
3rd or 4th month. Okay. And if you're looking to buy, would you be buying now? Would you be buying now? If
I was going to buy under 700K, I would even buy before this incentive comes into place. Because mortgage insurance is going to be cheaper than how much the value of the property is going to go up. I'll say it again. Mortgage insurance is going to be cheaper to pay today than paying 25K or 50K more in January, February, March.
And here's a point, Mark. I would rather buy now, not get it, and buy at the consistent level of where the market is. Let's just say anything under 700 grand is, let's say, true market value and not inflated by any grants or anything, because there isn't anything at the moment. So as soon as that grant comes in...
There's 2 first-home buyer stuff out there at the moment.
No, but that's been going on for the last couple of years. So we're at the level. We're at the baseline
the
right now.
The third one's coming in,
The third one's coming, which could skyrocket a 600 property to 650, 660. But then what happens when that grant's run out? It could go back down to 600 and you've bought at 660 just to get the extra 20 grand or save there. So I would prefer...
come back 10%, but I get your point.
But it's not based on market. It's based on a limited offer, not by the market. So when that offer is taken away, when there's only 10 to 15% of first homeowners, that will level out within a year pretty quickly. Because if you're selling and you're still trying to get that 660 from the first homeowners, but that grant's no longer. If only 1 in 15 were first homeowners, 14 other buyers of the 15 don't care about that offer, and they're going to be at the 600 to 650 marks. So I think be careful.
To support what you're saying, it's an organic market now, and it could be moving to an artificial market with this new incentive.
Quicker and cleaner. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so, you're buying an organic pricing today, but you could be buying an artificial pricing in the next quarter of next year when the third incentive comes into play.
We got great numbers on this morning. So if anyone has...
How's that
really
why
good.
I said that? That was like,
boom! Boom. It's like what Luke said. Luke agrees with you. Agree March, April, under 700 grand. Watch for inflated prices. Grants inflate. People are silly, 100%. So obviously,
guys,
if you can't buy...
You're buying this puppy for 10 years. You're not buying it for one. So organic or artificial, me personally, I don't care, because I'm going to own it for 10 years and it's going to double in 10 years, because that's what it's done for 100 years. Every 10 years it doubles for the last 100 years. So why wouldn't it continue?
And if you can't buy a property without the grant, who cares anyway? So it's just the people, if you can buy with or without the grant and you're speculating, we would say buy now. If you can't buy, but if you can't do it now, and you need the grant, then who cares? Buy and then move in it and don't worry.
Let's wrap it up. And hey, tomorrow, can we talk about tomorrow? Can I pick a fight with someone tomorrow about capital growth? I'm passionate that capital growth is destined to continue until I die in property at the same rate since I've been alive. So I want to talk about tomorrow, if that's okay with you, Mr. Bergio. I want to talk about, I've been alive for 43 years, and I reckon the property market is going to go up at the same rate that it has the last 43 years, the next 43 years. And I want all the pessimistic people to come online and have a chat.
Let's do it. So let's work it out. Tell me what a property would be when you're 86 then. Work it out tomorrow for us.
Done.
All righty, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Great numbers today. Huge numbers. Remember, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll podcast it. Be on YouTube. It'll be everywhere. Every format, as Gary V will say.
Share it with your friends. We're gonna put the links in here for you as well. Share it so you can dig deeper on all the information we've spoke about, those 3 different grants. Share it with your friends. Tag your friends. Tell your friends. Yes, it's available in podcast. And also, if you've got any questions, we'll answer them for you. We will even run a morning minutes on your question if it's a cracker of a question.
Yes, done. We'll do it. All righty, guys. Talk soon. Cheers.
Thanks, Michael. Cheers, mate.
Everyone, bye.
Bye-bye.